I don't think a lot of times we really give ourselves a chance. Not an honest one, at least. And I could talk about this for a business you start or a weight goal, like a gym goal that you have for all facets of life. But none is more apparent, at least recently for me, than the one about peace, and specifically peace of mind. Because I'd found myself growing a bit, I'm not gonna say overwhelmed, but definitely a bit too, with too much noise in my mind. I was scrolling too much. I was seeing a lot of political things, religious things, people arguing, problems with my country, all of this, all the time. And it got to a point that I would be away from the content, thinking about it, and getting angry at scenarios I'm making up in my mind that I'm thinking how it's gonna be, how it's not. And I realized that if I claim to want to have peace of mind, which I do, then I'm not being honest with myself. Because a lot of times when we look at these things, we have a lot the perspective as if we're fighting a battle, as if, to have this peace of mind, you're fighting against social media and against YouTube and against all of these things that want your attention and want to take it away and, feed it with all this noise. But I think that is wrong because that suggests that they are after you, and that's almost that you have no choice but to fight them. But I think it's much more that it's like we walk to the battlefield, the metaphorical battlefield, and then we're shocked that there's bombs falling there and that there are enemies there trying to fight us. Of course there are. But who walked to the battlefield? We did. I did. Who opened YouTube? Who had the phone that installed Instagram again? Who decided to go and scroll? That was me. And that is you if you find yourself in the same situation. And because of that, and in this manner, we have to shift the perspective to one that actually treats ourselves like adults and not like children that that things happen to you and you have to react. You do to a certain extent, but we have to recognize that a lot of times we are placing ourselves in these situations. And we are bringing the phone when we shouldn't. And we're having Instagram installed when we shouldn't. And we're going on YouTube too long when we shouldn't be doing that. And we choose to. And what we have to realize is that we are walking to the battlefield, hoping to find peace there and hoping to find ways to actually find some peace there, when we don't realize that we just walked from the green field with calm and tranquility and whatnot and sacrificed that instead of realizing that we had it all along. And when we shift this perspective, I think it's much healthier because it addresses the problem at an earlier stage, perhaps at the roots, if we want to call it that, and it actually shifts our effort where we can actually control things. Because if I'm already scrolling Instagram, looking at rage bait, man, good luck trying not to eventually be enraged or upset, or at the very least with your mind very sped up. By the very nature of these platforms, it at the very least will be very stimulated. To the point that if you just stop and try to sit and look at the sunset, you won't be able to. You'll crave it, you'll need it, you'll feel too boring without it. And so I think we have to really shift how we're approaching it. And who says peace? That's where I'm focusing today, but you can say anything. If I'm trying to lose weight, it's the same as I say, okay, I'm going to lose weight. But then I buy cookies and I say, I'm just not going to eat them. So why did you buy the cookies? It's the same thing. Why did you install Instagram? Why did you bring your phone? And there's many ways we could justify it. You could say, oh, but what if there's an emergency? I'm just laying there in the grass, and what if someone needs to call me? And I ask you, how many times in the past 10 years did someone have to call you with an emergency? One time, maybe? Like something that really needed to be you. It just doesn't happen. If you think back to your grandparents, they didn't have even your parents when they were younger, they didn't have phones. They spent time outside. If there was an emergency, well, there's an emergency. It's how life goes. I think, and I say this not to say that we shouldn't be there for people and to help, but I say this because we're just lying to ourselves. We say that we carry it because it's an emergency, but it's not. The emergency that we say is that we're going to be bored and we want to scroll and we want to be engaged, and we fundamentally, we say we want peace, but we don't want it. We want truly If we're honest with ourselves, we want to have our cake and eat it too. We want to have peace as we scroll. And we want to be able, or not as we scroll, but we want to be able to scroll and be highly stimulated, but then do some things that allow us to have peace. And that's why a lot of people say, yeah, I do that, but now I started meditating. And with the meditation, this new program that I saw, I'm going to be able to. You're missing the point. Yeah, you should meditate, but you can just not go to the battlefield. And that will help infinite times more than trying to meditate when the bombs are falling around you. And I think it's all because we're a bit arrogant. And I am too, in this manner, that we think we can have it all. And we think that we're not influenced by what surrounds us. We think that we're above it, that we're too smart, we're too self-aware, we know what's happening. And because we say we know what's happening, we think we can escape the reaction our mind has to it. But we can't, not for long. If you spend 3 hours per day looking at content that is enraging and that touches on things you care about, eventually you will emotionally react to it because it's not a choice. At some point you get upset and frustrated and angry and all of these. But if you were quite literally in a park bench where nothing is happening, there's just some leaves falling from the tree, some people walk by you every 5 minutes, nothing is happening, and you have just maybe a book with you, nothing else, what is there to rage bait you? What is there to cause an emotional spike? There isn't. And as your mind slows down, and as you step away from all these things, only then can we really see what's in front of us, and can we see the beauty of life, of nature, of the sounds, of the leaves, the colors, all of that. If you're on your phone and then you step away and you try to enjoy that, you can't. Your mind is not prepared. It's too fast. Everything is a blur. You're not there. So I think I say all of this, as I say as much to whoever is listening as I say to myself, is that we have to be a bit more honest with ourselves. And we have to recognize that we are not as strong as we think. We are not as, independent of, what's the word? Our thoughts are not as independent as we'd like them to be. They're heavily influenced by what surrounds us, by the people, the content, what we see, what we hear, all of that. And so, as when you're playing a video game, and you walk by a big door with red lights around it, lamps and skulls circling it, you know what happens if you enter through the door. There's a boss fight and you will have to fight. And in a game, that's the purpose of it. But you can just walk by it too. You don't need to go. You don't need to get yourself into a fight. You can just go sit in the grass, look ahead of you without all these things causing distractions, and realize that it is there for you. But you have to allow yourself, more than fight it, you just have to allow yourself to actually put yourself in a winning position and in a position to do what you claim you want to do.